What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to vinyl wrap a front bumper, this Jaguar F-Pace, using TeckWrap Satin Metallic Burnt Maroon. It's a beautiful color. This is the final and last piece to actually wrap right now. Bear with me, it's going to take a bit of time. It's not quick to wrap a bumper, and on top of that, we've gone to the extent of setting up inlays or pieces ahead of time. The time that I've spent already with just setting up the extra pieces / inlays, it has been about 2 hours or so. I'm going to put in video there while I talk about what I've done and how I've set things up. First off, we've removed the bumper in order to remove the headlights, the grill pieces, all the grill pieces, fog lights, and anything else that might kind of get in your way or make it more challenging to basically get full coverage. We're going from a very light color to a very dark color, and it makes more sense to take these pieces off in order to be able to wrap more thoroughly around edges and get it as far to the edge as possible. Is it 100% necessary? I find that it is. But on top of that, it's also great to be able to clean in these areas that are not normally cleaned. Dirt, debris, that sort of thing can fall out. It's very hard to clean those areas with those pieces on. First off, so after that, after stripping it all down, I removed the sensors, we removed the headlight washer jet covers, one on each side, and the tow hook cover. And the washer jet covers and the tow hook cover and the sensors, they all get wrapped separately. What's important here is that you run your vinyl as directionally as possible, which means that you want to make sure that you don't flip these pieces around. For example, I notice that the T on TeckWrap is pointing upwards, and I've wrapped the entire vehicle around this direction. When I take these small pieces, I want to make sure that I put those pieces on my table, and I take a piece of extra vinyl, not from this piece, but I can take an extra piece of vinyl, and I make sure that I lay those pieces in the same direction. The T would be facing upwards over top of those small pieces. Why? Because there's a possibility that it could show a variance in the finish or color or both, and you don't want that. So you want to try to make sure everything's maintained and run the same direction. After that, what I've done is I've set up all these inlays, and these inlays have taken quite a bit of time. The inlays have taken about, I would say, about 2 hours, with disassembly, and then there's going to be reassembly, the cleaning, the prep, and so on. We're looking at quite a bit of time when it comes to wrapping a bumper like this. This is not an easy bumper. This is actually a very hard bumper to get set up, and hard is really kind of subject to different ideas and opinions, but it takes time. And I was in no rush to set these up. I strategically placed all these inlays in, and you're going to see me set up some of these inlays. This way you can see how I've gone about doing it. We didn't use a knife on the paints. Obviously we've used our cutting tape to lay down first, and then we've cut out those shapes and those pieces with using our cutting tape, and that keeps the paint safe, scratch free. Very important. Don't trust your knife 100% of the time. It's okay to use your knife around the outer edges here, and even in maybe some small areas to clean something up if you really need to. But to do very long cuts, as I have set up here, using your knife just doesn't make sense. It's going to be much more challenging. It's going to be almost impossible to get as straight of a line with using your hand and your knife as opposed to using a cutting tape. So like I said, it's safer, and it's also going to give you a better finished end results. Again, I'm going to show you what this bumper looks like when it's all said and done, with the seams, with the pieces, with the inlays, and the main piece put over top of all this stuff. Let's get into this and talk about what I've done so far. Otherwise, what I've done so far. So I've reclipped the bumper back onto the vehicle. Why? Because it's much easier to wrap when it's mounted to the vehicle itself. I just put a couple of screws in the top here, one on each side, one on each end, and that's about it. So I have 4 screws holding this bumper on. We don't need much more than that. You can put more if you really want to, but we're not trying to reinstall the whole thing. I've also wiped the entire thing down with isopropyl alcohol, so it's fully wiped down. It's clay barred. It's as debris-free as possible. I have a really nice stone chip right up here, and I can feel it. It's going to show through a little bit. It's just not worth sanding the paint down. We're going to leave that there. Sanding the paint down means that if I remove the wrap, I'm just going to end up seeing this. This is a new car. This is a 2019. It's fairly new. I got it this year, so I know there's no miles on this thing. But anyways, it's very new, and it's very low miles on it right now. It's under 10K. That's about 8K. And it has stone chips. So there's going to be some minor imperfections here and there, is what it is. I've also gone to the extent of using compressed air. I really like using compressed air to blow away extra particles, contaminants, debris that might be floating around in the back section behind the bumper. It makes sense to get that stuff out of the way as well. Why? Because when we remove the release liner, we're going to be creating static, and static is going to draw in those particles. We don't want that at all. Let's get into it. I have my heat gun ready. I've got my basic tools, and we're going to do this. So what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to anchor the panel. I'm doing this alone. I'm going to anchor the film to one side, and I can't use magnets on the actual vehicle itself or on this fender. Why? Because it's not magnetic. So you notice how I've kept also the bottom of the roll at the bottom. I don't want to turn it upwards. That could be drawing dirt, contaminants, debris upwards, and we don't want that. I'm just going to take my time here and unrolling it, so I don't want it to unstick from the other side. If it does, I will have to clean the film thoroughly before reapplying it, which would be a complete bummer. When I was setting up some of those inlays, you might have noticed some areas that looked like they were maybe dirty or marked. When the vehicle was assembled, so I'm just going to take this and stick it down on this side, and I'm going to size this piece up right now. So when the vehicle was assembled, the panels, like the headlights and such, they actually sit so tight to certain areas, like where the headlight sits, that it actually rubs the paint. What can I do? Nothing. So some of those areas that looked like they had dirt on them, and you're probably wondering, well, hey, why didn't I clean that? It's not cleanable. It's just paint is missing in those areas. So I can't clean it any further than that. It's already as clean as possible with the paint gone. Okay, we're going to size this up. So we want to check the bottom and we want to check the top. We don't have a heck of a lot on the bottom here. This is basically that line right there is where the very bottom of my bumper is that I need to wrap. And we do have to make sure we have enough on the top. It's very important. I'm going to come a little bit higher up here. Now the film is going to be a little bit stickier than what you might have used in the past, but I'm just letting you know it's a high-tack film. It's not as a problem. It's just I like the high-tack film, but it just takes some getting used to. But I'll show you how to do this. So I'm just going to move that up a little bit and make sure I have enough on the top. The hard part here, or the more challenging part here, will be to get the film on the top side over here to curl around the bumper. Front bumpers are typically actually not that hard to wrap in comparison to rear bumpers, I find, and that's, again, a personal opinion, but I find that they're not as difficult as a rear bumper. Rear bumpers can actually be a little bit more challenging. This one's not hard, but other rear bumpers can be more challenging. The reason why is that this bumper is actually pretty flat all the way across, and most front bumpers are straight up and down. You're going to notice that. The only challenge I have to face here is just this area that's kind of connected at the top here, but depending on the make and model of the car that you have, really varies. Let's wrap this. Let's peel off the release liner. Just make sure that the other side was stuck down. Let's pull this off. I'm going to start unrolling it, and I want to try to keep this as straight as possible. I'll bring the camera in nice and close so everyone can see everything. Just going to get this in its position. Just tack that down to the fender a bit there. And let's continue to roll it. So I've actually come a little bit higher than I would like to. I can see this black plastic here. I mean, maybe it's okay. Yeah, we're okay. We have a couple of inches. I could have gone with a bit of a taller piece. So this is actually a pretty tall sheet of vinyl. This is over 30 inches tall. That's also not that common. Most of the time you're looking at under 30 inches tall. But luckily the rear bumper was a lot shorter than 30 inches. So you can see that I've rolled some of the release liner off, and then I'll open up this side. This is again how I like to do it. And peel that right off. All right, let's have a quick look here. Let's see what's going on. Let's get this a little bit flatter. So I'm gonna pull that out just like that. Give it a little flip flop and keep the film snug. It's not gonna be perfect. Don't expect perfection right off the bat right here. We are getting into position more or less. I want to start with a flat area, a nice flat area. So I'm going to take this area right here and let's pop that up a bit. Let's see what's going on here. There we go. And I do want to make sure that we still have the coverage that I need. We're very, very close, but I think we'll be okay. Now, if you're curious or wondering what you should do in a situation like this where you can't see your inlays anymore, you can take a picture of the bumper, And this way it'll give you an idea on where you've set up your inlays. You can also, once you get the vinyl stretched around the bumper, you can take it off, put it on a bumper stand. Pretty much going to do everything here while it's on the car, but there's ways to go about it that can help you out. All right, we have plenty on the top. I have about 4 inches right up top here past the top edge, 3-4 inches. On the bottom, not very much, about 1.5 inches or so. So we're gonna have to make sure that we don't move the bottom too much. The vinyl is gonna have to stretch across really nicely and really evenly. Let me move the camera over to give you guys a better view and show you what's happening here. It's gonna be very important that you see as much as you possibly can when it comes to doing this. All right, let's get the camera angled down a bit and swivel that over. Great. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna start with some heating and some stretching. I could be a little further away from this wall, would have been nicer. Too late now. Should have moved the car outwards a bit. I'll be okay. I've worked in tighter spaces. And we're gonna take this and we're gonna start heating and stretching from the middle. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna actually fold that. And a lot of this we're gonna end up cutting off. We have a lot of extra vinyl on the ends and we're gonna end up cutting it off. Here I can have one last look and see where my inlays are. And we're gonna go for it. So we're gonna go somewhere around the middle here, see what I'm doing. And we're gonna heat. You're gonna see this film change. Now this might take more than one, well, it's most likely gonna take more than one attempt since I am the only person heating and there's no one here to help me. So I cannot heat the entire sheet by myself. It's gonna be almost impossible. So you see how I'm heating it very closely. And the top is going to kind of flop around and move, and it is what it is. It's going to happen. You see that going. I'm going to add a bit of tension to the film. I'm going to start positioning myself back over here. Make sure we heat all the way to the bottom. It's very important. And we'll try and get a little bit more of this done over here and still keep some heat over there. Try and get a little bit more of this done over here. It's very important to heat the top to bottom, okay? If you don't, you're not gonna get a nice consistent stretch, and that will affect the results of what you get from this point of view, or sorry, what happens right now. I'm stretching a little bit heavier on the top right now. You can see it's probably moving, which is good, I want that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my right hand and I'm gonna place it a little bit further down, probably somewhere around there, right here. And we're gonna do this, so let's do it right now. Let's pull it nice and tight. Okay, I wanna make sure that I'm hitting, trying to hit this as flat as possible. Let's get those wrinkles out. There we go, while the film is soft and warm. It's perfect. Okay, we're gonna check the bottom. We're still in a good position. Now, I haven't done much heating and much stretching from here out. So I'm just gonna pull that back slightly, and we're gonna do this again. We're gonna do this until we make it all the way around. I'm gonna just unfold this. It's okay if it sticks together, it's just more of a pain. And this is the disadvantage to not having extra hands, but again, you don't need them. I'll show you how to do it right now. Squeegee some of that down. All right. Now let's go for the next pull. This might take still at least one more try, but 2 more tries maybe. All right, let's add a bit more heat again. I'm gonna heat right at that line there, but I don't wanna stretch too hard from this line. So I wanna heat too heavily and I don't wanna stretch too hard from that line. That can create distortion in the film and change the color. We definitely don't want that. It's all about knowing that there's going to be some very minor mistakes and how to correct them. Okay, so it's probably all right. Pull that nice and tight. And see how I pivot? Pivoting is very important. Okay, so that's about as far as I can go there. Right about there. It's nice and flat still, looks good. Other than that, that's a mess. We're gonna deal with that, I'll show you how. Now I'm gonna put this down and I'm gonna move the camera a bit more over this direction to show you what's happening on this side of things. You'll see the other side anyways. Okay, so we're getting there. Everything's still nice and straight along the bottom edge there. We have coverage, very important. Okay, we got this last. I have tons of extra film on the lengthwise, so again, I'm not too worried about folding this over. Just allows me to put my hands in a better position. And we don't have a heck of a far distance to go here. We just got a bit to go. But what's important is that we're nice and consistent with our stretch and our pull. This way, we're not adding any distortion into the film. Just heat that a bit right there. Get those to go away. There we go. Nice and warm on the bottom. And again, position myself behind it. And just grab it right about here. And let's give it a good swing. And we should be pretty much there. Okay, so you notice I'm holding the bottom here. What I'm gonna do is take this and got my masking tape there somehow. Got stuck to my vinyl, it's okay. So I'm gonna cut off. I'm gonna take that. And we're just gonna add a bit of tension right here. Add a bit of heat. And draw this right down and spread it apart right down towards that bottom corner. My hand placement, super important. Should be okay there. Gonna have a ton of extra film right here, so I'm gonna cut a lot off. You're gonna see it in about 2 seconds here, how much I cut off. Just way too much. Still have even more to cut off, but that's okay. That's all that extra that I have to cut off there, okay? Lots. Let's take this spot right here. Let's add a little bit of heat. There we go, just a quick little pass by. And because of the way and the directions that I pulled the film, that just kind of shrinks down and around, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. All right, what we want to do here is we want to squeegee out, or what I like to do is squeegee out the largest, flattest area, just like this. This is where the film is going to bond the most aggressively, where it's touching the largest, flattest areas. This top's still a mess, but you're going to see what's going to happen when we do the other side. I'm just going to fix this up because it's kind of just bothering me a bit. There we go. You can see the film is actually pulling itself over the top now, which is great. It's exactly what you want. Kiss that with a bit of heat right there. Boom. Lovely. And then we have the top. I might as well just do this now. So the end of the bumper is right there. We're gonna cut and leave ourselves a little extra still. And we're gonna come right up to the top corner here. I'm gonna add just a kiss of heat also right here. I haven't really stretched here yet, so I'm not really adding stretch on stretch. And just gently spread that apart and balance out what's left as far as the rest of the tension goes. So much easier, right? Oh, now I made a crease. It's okay. I'm gonna lift that up just right now. There we go. Add just a bit of heat right there. I had a feeling it was gonna crease, and I still went for the squeegee anyways. This is how you learn. Okay, I don't want to squeegee like right up to the edge. We're gonna leave this for now. We have the other side to do still. Let's kind of fix up a couple of other things here, like that, there. And then we'll fix up this, and we'll fix up a bit of the bottom. So we're gonna fix up right here. It's just one wrinkle to pull down. And sometimes you just gotta add a little bit of heat, and that makes a big difference, right? There we go. Now, since there are so many inlays set up here, I might even have to check it out to see what's going on. There's a lot. I remember them. I just need to maybe know what the exact placement is. I took pictures. I don't always do that, but I did this time, just because there's so many. And right here, we're gonna fix this up from underneath, right here. Go a little bit higher. As long as your hands aren't greasy, you can do this. Just keep in mind, you can possibly get a hair or some debris behind it at this point. And pull those wrinkles flat as well. Perfect. Pulling that film pretty aggressively, okay? Now I want to take that and just still smooth some of that out. Cool. Now, since I've kind of stretched it, obviously we don't want to have stretch here. We're just going to end up shrinking it back down. Watch. because I already stretched it. The vinyl will shrink after we heat it. All right, I've got a couple more in the center right here. Done. Let's heat this, and that's going to tighten up right along that bottom edge there again. Again, it's all about control, so we control where we want our film to go, and good to go. So it's a nice stone chip right there in case you see that one. It's again something I should have done a while ago, but I haven't had any time to do it. Again, it's my personal vehicle. Cool. Let's move on to the other side. So you see how everything's looking. It's looking really good. It takes time. It's not a quick installation. This is only just scratching the surface right now as far as getting it set up. This is the easy part, in fact. This is easy compared to the cutting and the trimming that we have to do afterwards. Okay, hold that back. Again, this is a lot of the reason why you want to have your car or your area very clean. You know, like we're lifting the vinyl up, and we don't want to get stuff pulled in behind it. The same thing here. Let's actually use that camera, but I'll probably end up getting in your way. Let's go right about there and give you a better view. Cool. Now, this side's a little bit more challenging for me. So usually is. My right hand, which is my more dominant hand, is on the top, and the lower is a little bit harder because it's with my left hand. And the lower is usually where you kind of mess things up if you're going to mess it up. So just keep that in mind. You're going to really make sure that bottom is good. That middle heated up there, that's important. That will help the vinyl stretch better. There we go. That's all getting cut out, right where that grill is. And the reason why I moved the grill is because it was just so tight. I don't have to actually wrap very far behind where that grill goes. It was just super tight, and I didn't want to risk making a mistake. Okay, so somewhere around there, it might be warm enough. We're gonna add some heavy tension and give it a really solid pull. Okay, it's not bad. We're gonna stop there for a second. I'm gonna assess the top such situation right here, and we're also going to assess what's going on right around here. Cool, that all looks good. The center looks pretty good. Show you what's gonna happen now in the center. We're gonna take this, and since you can see the vinyl's pulling tightly across, we just wanna flatten it out. To flatten it out, pop it up a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna add a little bit of heat right there, just quickly. There we go, get that one wrinkle out. Great, now, I'll probably slide my hand out a bit further, adding some pretty heavy tension with my left hand, but I'm letting the heat do most of the work and adding gentle amount of heat, nothing too crazy here. Give it time, let the film respond. The heat controls how far you can stretch it. If you add a lot of heat, you're gonna end up getting a lot of stretch. Just saw something there, so I'm just gonna shrink that down. There we go. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go here a bit. Just very gentle with the heat. I'm going to pull outwards just a bit that way against these wrinkles here, just to try to flatten them out. Just like that. You have the option of, you could do the top piece separately if you really wanted to on this car. Just you're going to see a seam a little bit more over here. I didn't want to, don't need to, but I'm showing you how to do it without it. Let's fix up over here now. Same thing. Let's add a bit of heat. Give it time. It's all about giving it time. Let's make that a bit smoother to start off. There we go. Not stretching very hard towards the top edge, being firm, but still gentle enough. Come a bit more this way. Great. Use a combination of my finger and my squeegee, depending on how I feel about the wrinkles, so what's happening. The thumb, your finger or your thumb, adds a bit more pressure to wrinkles, so it can make it easier to squeegee them out. Okay, so this side's pretty much done over there. Let's go over here now. Let's continue along. Why did I go over there and do that? Because I wanted to wait until this was more or less pulled across on this side so that I could make sure that that side was good to go also. So we're good to go on that other side, and that's exactly why I was just waiting to get this side done here. Let's take this and pull out, might as well pull out these ones now before it gets even tighter, because when I pull the vinyl tight, for the rest of the way, it's going to get even harder to get these ones out. So a lesson learned from the other side was to just get this area fixed up beforehand. Somewhere around there. Okay, so we're about the same area where we started on the other side. We're gonna do the same thing again from about here and bring that over. Now that top piece right up here is probably gonna lift off a bit. That's okay. See, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you push stuff down, or you squeeze it down, and you still have to go back and squeeze it again later. It's okay though. There we go. We wanna go to about there. This is how it goes. Get some heat down on that lower section there. Nice heat across the top and all the way down. You gotta make sure that lower hand, when you're stretching, stays pretty heavy. You gotta keep some weight on it. If you don't, you're not gonna get a good pull. Let's come back up here again. Let's continue to start leaning on it a bit now. And when I heat with this closely, I keep my heat gun always moving. If you stop that for even 2 seconds, or sorry, 1 full second, this could burn a hole or distort the film. You don't want that. Okay, let's try that again now. Let's grab it right about there. Okay, that was not, that's why it's harder for me on this side. That was not my favorite. Spot right here was a little bit tough. This is where you start to sweat because it's hard work, especially doing it alone. Let's talk about what's happening here. I have to get a lot of these out, and some of them I can get out just by doing this. These ones I'm pretty comfortable with, while a couple of these ones here are a lot bigger, especially that one right there. So what we can do here, I'll show you, as opposed to going back and redoing that all over again, because I don't want to put that kind of energy into it all over again. I'm going to try and go from the bottom and pull the wrinkles downwards. And again, it's okay to put your hand behind it as long as your hands aren't greasy, sweaty, or oily. And just don't put your finger through the film. Okay, so there we go, right there. Hold that tight and get that corrected. Right, as soon as that's corrected, make our lives a lot easier. All right, that helped. Let's go along here. Let's check out what's going on here. I'm just gonna add a bit of heat, see what happens. Okay, this should tighten up really nicely. That's all good. The bottom's looking good. Until about here, it's a lot of slack, okay? So we gotta watch this area here. This is where we still have to continue to heat and stretch across. Let's go over here with the camera a bit. Great. Again, we're gonna have tons of extra on the ends. Better to have extra, too much than too little. Okay, so same thing here. We're gonna make sure that we're gonna make the bottom still, so we have to keep our film very straight. And let's do this. So this might be the last heat and stretch. We'll see. See a lot at the top there. The top really needs to come across. See a bit down here. See, it's not shrinking, right? Not really. This means there's no stretch there. Put my hand a little bit closer on the top here. There we go. I just crawled my right hand in a bit. Explain what's happening there. This is somewhere, I think it's gonna feel good right around there. Let's try to just do it. Okay, that was a lot of work, but we got it. That's really good right there. Let's get that out. Like I said, squeegee the largest, flattest areas, get the air out of there. Bottom's still good, we're rocking there. Top's good, we've pretty much got this vinyl all the way around the bumper. Well, it is all the way around the bumper. Now we just gotta make a couple of minor adjustments. So it's the same thing here as it was on the other side. When it comes to correcting this, just make sure that you've got maybe a solid spot squeegee through right there. It's totally up to you. Normally I'll heat and bring the film down this way towards that corner right down here where the bumper ends. And then same thing, I'll go back up the other direction. This way it pulls the film tightly in the wheel well area. It's also not a bad idea to cut off some of your extra vinyl right now. So I have too much vinyl in the wheel well area, and it makes it so I can't place my hands where I want to right now. I get it, but would have helped to have trimmed some off. Great, let's get this wrinkle perfect. And let's just check it. Should be nice and tight along the bottom there, no wrinkles, really good. Let's cut out all that extra again right here. Extra vinyl or too much vinyl is annoying, especially as you start coming near the end of the panel. All right, let's go over here now. Let's bring this camera over a little bit more again to show you what's happening right here on the top. Cool, let's do it. So I'm gonna have tons past the very end. Do I need to cut it off? I'm gonna leave it right now, but you can cut some off. Like there's the end of the bumper right there. I could cut off, 5-6 inches here. But to show you what's gonna happen here, I'm gonna keep up my right hand. I'm gonna add a bit of heat. Now this area shouldn't really have any stretch, so we shouldn't really see too much movement other than some pre-shrinking of the film. And let's take it, spread it out, pull it towards me a bit, spread it outwards, and wrap it right around. Just like that. Oops. Lock it into something before you let go, and it'll stay. See how my left hand is still holding it? Awesome. Hey, we made it. A couple of small areas to fix up, but otherwise our bumper is wrapped around. We have all the fun stuff to do now. We have the inlay cutouts and so on. Let me grab the heat gun here. Let's fix up this spot right here. I'm gonna bring that back this way a bit. See what I'm doing? And the vinyl is going to kind of come into that headlight area. Where is it? Right there? Yeah, right there. I don't know if that was enough. We're gonna find out. Not bad. Just can pull it outwards towards my right a bit. So that's too much up. You see a lot of fingers are pointing upwards towards the top of the bumper. I don't really want that. So let's just see if I can lead that back a bit this way, because there's some tension in the middle pulling across. And that fell down really nicely. And doesn't look like we have too much there now. It's just sticking to my fingers, guys. See, check that out. It's beautiful. So this is where you're gonna start to sweat. Probably see me sweating a bit. Scuff marks from your squeegee will normally just heat out, so just keep that in mind. Over here, we're looking pretty good. It's actually probably a little bit better than the other side. There's my inlay, it's in here. So this is gonna help me define where things are. I can see my inlay now. You cannot set up your cutting tape in most cases to cut out your main piece afterwards. Just another thing to keep in mind here. Let's go bring that back a bit. Let's pull it out a little bit towards this corner over here. This is where the end of the bumper is right here. See that? Right, and then this should gently come up to the top. Again, nice and smooth. Beautiful. Okay, so now I know that I have an inlay under here, I have an inlay here. And so it's really kind of comes down to like, where do you want to start? What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna start, I'll probably do the top area first, then we'll just move the camera down as we go along. We'll go right here. I put tape, okay? I put 2 layers of tape actually at this point right here because I knew that I was gonna be cutting. And that's just more of a precaution. And again, I can see where my inlay was placed, right? So in here, anything in here right now, in this gap, I can just cut out. Look, nothing there. And the end of the fender is right there. So if we just go like right like this, we can get rid of this piece. See? Awesome. Now what I'm gonna do is lift off of the tape right here. And I just wanna add heat to that top edge and see what goes on. I wanna make sure it's not pulling back or anything like that. No, we're good. Let's make sure nothing is pulling back in here also. Okay, that's all good. See how it's dropping down and rolling in really nicely? It's exactly what you want. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna freehand cut. I have a nice little space, a nice flat area to cut on, and I have to know down here where my inlay ends or where it starts. We're gonna take our time. Let's cut. Worst case, you can do an overlay afterwards. Worst case. They don't look as nice, but just keep that in mind. And I'm just keeping my finger on the edge of the body line to help guide me and give me a nicer, straighter cut. And I can actually see very slightly the inlay I have set up there. I'm going to go not the entire way. I like to do parts at a time. Let's come in here and finish out the cut. Right. So now you can see what the inlay looks like. There's a seam there, right? The seam is facing the other direction, so really shouldn't be a big problem. Let's check under here. We need to find the inlay under here and where that starts. I'm gonna heat and push in a bit just so I can see what's happening. Okay, so I can see it. It's right here. And we're gonna go right about there. Trying to give ourselves enough. And now I can run that right out. And that's gonna help this piece right here drop down a little bit better. So watch what I mean by that. Let's pull that up a bit. And where did I finish my cut? Right around there. Okay, so I don't want to cut all that off yet. I want to go leave myself some extra. So this is called a cut and a drop. Now how well this works out, it doesn't always work out to be perfect. So you got to really take your time with this, guys. So my cut and drop, I want this area right here to land over top of my inlay. So if I just push that down, it's going to fall short. I don't know if you can see that white there. Let's bring that camera down a bit for you. Okay, so that white is showing right in there. So if I do that, if I just push that down, we're gonna be making a mistake. We don't want to do that. I put my knife, let's cut this a little further back now. I can still see my inlay right here. So I just take my time. I don't want to mess this up. Okay, so we can actually, if we want to, we can do the top section probably. Let's just check that out. Okay, that's good. That falls. We can manipulate this cut and drop if we need to in most cases. We're gonna check out the bottom, see what's going on there. What I'm gonna do also here is I'm gonna heat a bit. You're gonna see that shrink. Look at it shrink. I want that to shrink first. I don't want it to shrink later. And let's again find the continuation or how far our inlay goes. This is why your inlays are very important on where you place them. So I'm going to take this now and go a little further. If you don't want to push so hard that you're pushing through both layers of film either. That's another thing to remember. Front bumpers are, I guess, suppose more challenging because of what I'm doing right now. The inlay setup is not too difficult, I would say. It's more or less doing the cut and drops. And you really just got to take your time with those. See there, good. Let's use our squeegee, it's gonna be easier. Just gently massage that down and around. Great. Check that out. Okay, that's not done yet. We still have to cut out the excess. All right, let's go. I know I have an inlay right inside there also. So all I really have to do right now is come from here, meet this right about there. And then now I can just cut that outwards and we can remove this piece very gently. Take your time, like that. Now inside here, I put this piece inside here because I wasn't absolutely certain I would be able to make it, but we can just run that all the way in and overlap our previously installed inlay. And then this will even avoid less of a seam. The headlight sits actually pretty flush to that area, so I'm not too concerned about it. It sits really flush in this area here. So chances of seeing anything there would be really slim. All right, what's next? Let's just do this. And let's cut a bigger hole, or sorry, smaller hole first, something like this, okay? We want to make sure that if we have tension running across this area, that the vinyl shrinks when we heat it, or the vinyl will shrink when we heat it, and then we cut. See, watch, it's gonna wrinkle at the ends of it. See, right there and there? We want that to happen. And then now, we can push that down a bit. Very important. And then we can trim out excess film. Let's wrap that in there a bit. We don't need a lot. So same thing goes for there. Try and move along here. Let's, I mean, it's gonna be the same thing on the other side, so let's do the other side on top. And I'll do the very top cut afterwards. This is like the really critical stuff, right? So let's do this. Again, we're gonna find our inlay here. And I'm also going to make sure I cut off that top section there, right where it connects to the fender. Let's make sure where my tape is. Gonna have a quick look. Again, we can come in right under here. And I know my inlay's here, right? And then I know I have tape, so we can come right in like this. I need to leave a lot. Just leave like ½ inch. Okay. Good. Again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna check that top part where it meets the fender. Make sure that that's not pulling back. So I'll just let it off of the tape. Shouldn't, should all be good. Looks really nice, I'm happy with that. Fix up that wasn't pushed down all the way there. Perfect. Doesn't matter if I have a wrinkle here or not, I have enough to cut on, so we're okay as far as all that goes. So there's that there. Let's make sure this line is nice and smooth as possible. Let's try to find our inlay all the way down as much as we can. This side's easier to cut for me since I'm right-handed. I can basically start from here, almost at the very end, and come all the way back. And start right there. And run all the way down. I'm almost having such a hard time seeing where I put my inlay. It's crazy. You can see it a bit. Crazy hard though. Now, I guess the question, or one of the questions you might have asked is, the film is overlapping the inlay, okay? It's not like it's meeting perfectly. I'm not cutting perfect where the two pieces meet. The main piece is overlapping the, the main piece is overlapping the inlay. There we go. And let's just finish that off right there. Fender got in the way, right? So, yeah, once you get your vinyl across the bumper, you can take the bumper off and put it on the bumper stand and then do all this there if you want to. Cool. Here again, we're gonna find our inlay on the top. I can see it right there. Let's just do that. Good, we can cut off a bunch of this. We don't need it, it's way too much again. Good. How nice that looks. Oh, let's go. Let's go here now. Let's see what's going on right here. Get a little closer. There we go. And let's add a bit of heat. Just to squeegee that down a bit if I can. My finger for that. Well, this is not far enough yet, so we're just going to check it first. Let the film do its thing. It's always a good idea. And then we're going to check to see how much further we can go here. I can go a decent amount right to there. Precision is key with this. Great. Take this, add a bit more heat to it. Okay. Squeegee. Oops. Yeah, there we go. Squeegee that down. And then the top landed a little bit better on this side. Why? I honestly couldn't tell you. Just happened to be the way it is. Which is okay. I'm okay with that. It working out. It works out better for me. All right, so same thing here. We're going to cut out our excess. Cool. This out. And then here, same thing. Right. And then we can just take that and finish that off all the way around. Why not have a little bit extra vinyl in there? Again, I already had my inlay in there, but again, I wasn't sure. So even I sometimes don't know if pieces are going to make it, and it's more precautionary. Again, it's not like it's seen, so it's not going to hurt anybody to have that extra inlay in there. It's just more or less to cover the little bit of white that's could possibly be seen. It's better to be a little extra cautious. All right, we're getting there. The center grill area is super easy, so we'll do that. I guess we'll just do that next. Let's get some of this squeegeed out here. Let's make sure all the air is out of here, actually. Not sure if I squeegeed it yet. License plate's going to cover a lot of that. And then this is going to be super easy, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a bigger hole first, and then we'll cut a smaller hole. So we're just going to cut a bigger hole here. And, sorry, we're going to cut a smaller hole first, and then we're going to cut the hole bigger. We're just going to cut out the rest. It doesn't matter. Okay, now we're just going to heat that because I did stretch across this area. I want to make sure there's no tension, not too much tension at these edges. See how it's wrinkling a bit? It's okay. We want this to happen now. Same thing over here. Want that to happen now. Okay, and let's massage some of that film down and around that edge. So this grill sits extremely tight, and it probably would have been horrible to wrap around it with it on. So I did remove it. It's only a few screws, one to get the bumper off and a couple of clips, and made a huge difference as far as the time I'm going to spend right now doing this area. I don't have to worry about, precision cutting or anything like that. It's going to be much easier to just wrap some extra vinyl in there and call it a day, basically. So you can see there's a little edge here, and that's mainly where the grill sits. So we're going to just wrap a little extra vinyl over that edge, and this area will be done. Let's try and make it as even as possible. I don't need to use my knife on the paints, just FYI. Just keeping a little bit of tension here with my hands. Get a couple of wrinkles up there. Let's get them before I cut too much vinyl out. Okay. In the corner here, it's probably not a bad idea to leave a little extra right up there. Let's come down here, same thing. Again, this cut doesn't have to be perfectly straight. No one's really gonna see it. It's only gonna be seen when the grill's removed. But, it's a good time to practice making it straight as possible. And I always keep tension on the film to help make it straight. Let's go here. Just a little bit. Then we have the bottom. And then I'll trim up the edges and this bumper will be wrapped. Just throw a glove on just for smoothing out the rest around the edge. If not, it's easier for me. There we go, add a bit of heat. That's more heat there. Again, no wrinkles, right? No creases, no wrinkles, good sign. Nothing on our edges that shows pullback. Going over with heat is also a nice precautionary to ensure we've sealed up the edges. And making sure that this turns out and lasts as long as possible. Right. Okay, what else can we do here? We can start doing the bottom. Now the very bottom is should be fairly straightforward. I've done a substantial amount of inlaying on the very bottom area. And then the other harder part would be like here. So again, let's do this spot right here. Let's actually cut a hole. I've already wrapped this is the tow hook cover area. I've already wrapped the tow hook cover, as you saw in the first part of the video, with the sensors and the washer jet. It's fine. Let's just take that up there, scrap piece. And now let's just heat it. So I don't even mind to lift it a bit. And just let that kind of do its thing, see? And then now, I'm just gonna gently smooth that out and around. Great. I don't have to wrap very far in there. When I'm ready to cut, I'll show you what I'm gonna do. There's my inlay for the top. I can see the edge right there. I'm gonna snap a blade off. I feel, maybe not, it's pretty good. It's like it was getting a little bit dull, but maybe it's not, it's just me. Okay, we're gonna keep going here. Just gonna add a bit of heat so I can find the edge of my inlay. See it. Okay, so I'm mainly more concerned about this top area. You can hear that blade dragging on the vinyl. All right. And then I know that here, for example, I have my inlay, and my inlay comes all the way down, and it comes down to about here somewhere. Now, I'm not really absolutely certain to where, but we're gonna find it. Don't worry. So I know I have this entire area under here wrapped all the way down, like from end to end. So all this is all wrapped, everything's all wrapped here. So I can see my inlay right now. Then I can start cutting from the middle and working my way out towards the side here. All right. Where's that? Right there. See, no one's going to see this edge here because it's underneath. Great. I'm gonna come here. Give myself extra. Great. That makes things easier. Okay, so I also know that I have this area wrapped here. So what I can do here, watch this. I'm gonna lift it from here, and then I'm gonna lay this in to that little recess right here, just right there. It makes a difference, trust me. Now what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna start doing our cut and drop. So I'm gonna trim some away right there. And we're gonna start trying to find our cut and drop here. So I know that this goes all the way to here. Let's check it out. Let's add some more heats. Make sure the vinyl's shrinking and doing its thing before we do any major cutting. And I need to find the edge of my inlay, which is right there. I can barely see it. You guys probably won't even see it at all. Again, this is where it gets a little risky, right? It gets a little questionable. Here, I'm going to trim some of this away and just get myself so I can see visually behind it. I already have an inlay on the top. If I need to see visually behind it, that's more or less. So we can see a little bit what's going on there. And right here is where I want to go. Scary. It's always a risk. So I'm going to lift that off of here, actually. And then I want to push this into there a bit more, taking some of the stretch from there. Let's see. Still can't see it. This is probably the hardest part of the whole bumper right now, is this spot. So I'm going to stretch that back a bit this way. Watch what I'm doing. I'm pulling the film. I'm pulling the film this direction towards me, towards myself, to hopefully provide a little bit of slack in this area right here. Yes, there we go. Now I can see. And I'm just looking behind. Just come out like this. There we go. Whew. All right. Not done yet. We have this last little bit to do right here. So we just don't have a lot of vinyl, right? So this is what makes it challenging right here. Even set up the inlay was tough. Cool. So there's our white. You can see it. We want to add a little bit of heat again. Make sure that pulls back and then hit it, push it down. Here on the top, we'll figure that out in a second. I can see where my inlay is still, so that's easy. I'm okay with that. Here, it's gonna be a little fun. Let's just take that and gently stretch it a bit towards this area right over here. And then we're going to, I have to manipulate my cut and drop a little bit here. I'm not trying to overkill the stretch, okay? I'm just trying to provide a bit more stretch to the film. Let's take it back, actually. So watch this. I'm gonna come back here a bit. And I'm gonna take some stretch from, let's make sure that's separated, from right about here in the middle, and then it's gonna give me a little bit extra on the very end without having tension on the very end. Okay. You can see how my hands are placed inside here and not at the very end. So it should help when it comes to not having too much tension on the very end. I didn't go far enough yet. I was being a little too gentle. There we go. Just go a little bit more firm with that. There we go. I suppose the worst case would have been that I would have to overlay this area. It's the hardest spot, I think. My head. This is where it's more difficult for me right now. Okay, we're gonna heat and push the film in here. Now technically I should have done an inlay in here. I'm not really all that comfortable with how this is right now. And that's a bummer. So my mistake here is that this is gonna bubble out unless I do something with it right now. I'm gonna try something. What do I have to lose? Other than rewrapping the bumper, nothing. Let's go from here. Let's try to feed some of the vinyl in from here and hope this helps. It's gonna help a lot much, I don't know. So again, I have an inlay on the bottom here, right? So I'm not concerned about that. I was just trying to get some extra vinyl in there right now. And kind of did something. I don't know if it did enough. Let's pull it again tight back this way, just a bit. And I suppose we'll see. I might have to overlay it. Yeah, it's a bummer. My mistake. So if I was doing this, if you guys were doing this exact bumper, I would have probably done an inlay across here. And that's where I messed up. I'm not saying 100% that it's going to fail. It's just that it's a likely area to fail. And for some reason, I thought that I could stretch it into here, but I'm just not feeling it See how I'm just gonna heat and I'm gonna push the film in? This adds risk, okay? So you can do that, but it adds risk. So we really have to get in there and we have to post heat, which is super important. If we don't, that's gonna be a huge potential threat if we don't post heat. And we need to just get the rest of this down here. And I have to start trimming some of this away because I have too much tension. I need to know where the edge is. So if I can see a bit behind here, I can cut some of it away. Okay, that might help. I don't want to heat too much because we might burn a hole through it. We don't want to do that either. So don't heat too much right away. But I'm going to post heat the heck out of this area, okay? I want to make sure that that's going to stay. And that is the only chance I have at this point. The glue is not enough to rely on any vinyl, doesn't matter. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go here. Let's cut some of that out. We're going to wrap some around that edge. We're going to go here also. And that's going to be way behind, so we're good. Grill does sit there. There's a grill piece that does sit there. So, I'm comfortable enough with the coverage as far as the ends go. It's just mainly in that recess. Great. Okay, so post-heating is this. I'll wait a second because I need to do some trimming around the area first. If I start heating up that area too much, before doing some other trimming, I could burn my other vinyl in the surrounding area, and I don't want to do that. It was already stressful enough. And then I have the same thing to do on the other side. In order to keep this video at a reasonable length, I'll probably end up not even showing you the other side because it's going to be the exact same thing. Okay, it's all looking good though. Okay, now let's do down here. This is like the last other stretch here and then somewhat in the middle. We're going to do this. We're going to start laying the film in over top of our inlay down here. I'm just adding a bit of tension with my left hand to keep the film tight, but not stretching the film, okay? So this is going to help a lot by not having any tension right here. And I can't even see the seam. That's crazy. So we're going to go here. And I can always trim more back afterwards if I left too much. Right. Now that seam is so low, go unnoticed. Only people who'd be looking for that are people who wrap cars. They'd know where to look. Most people would have no idea what they're looking at. Trying to find my inlay here. All right. Push that. So I'm kind of pulling it through and pushing it through at the same time. It's tough, man. Still sweating. I guess I'm probably sweating more because it's more stressful than anything else. All right. Okay, so then next, we'll trim this out and we can post heat here, and then we'll just do the center section right there. Let's take this glove off. I can't even believe how long this bumper takes to wrap. It's actually a really long bumper. The whole car is pretty easy compared to this. This is be one of the harder bumpers to wrap, that's for sure. All right. Now again, I know that I have all of that wrapped under here. See? What I want to do here is finish this a bit, and then I'm going to come up. So let's pull that back a bit, like this. Cut that off. Now what I need to do here is I need to pull this off, and this is going to be another cut and drop on the bottom. See? And I'm going to get my vinyl off of there also. I have a lot of vinyl up in here, and I haven't cut the whole way yet. So just to kind of show you some. Let's cut that out of the way. And then you can see the white under there. Oh, that's where we're going to do this. And this is going to basically fall, more or less. It's falling, but we're still guiding it into position right over top of our inlay, or setup of our inlay there, without stretching it into anything. Just adding a bit of heat to make the film pliable, because sometimes you just need to do that. Got a wrinkle, a crease. Let's fix that. There we go. Now I'd recommend working from the middle normally out to this edge. You can see that I'm kind of just getting the rest going with it. And that would be our other cut and drop right down in there. It's perfectly covered, which is really good. All right, so that's what our bumper's starting to look like. It's pretty crazy, right? It's a lot of work doing this. All right, guys, that's the bumper all wrapped. It's all finished. That's the whole car, all finished, and it's all wrapped in the TeckWrap satin metallic burnt maroon. The color is beautiful. I'm gonna take you for a little tour of the actual car, show you the bumper. From where you're standing, from where I'm standing right now, I'm standing right next to the car. I can't even see any seams looking at it. I'm gonna bring the camera in. You're about 4 feet from me, so I'll bring the camera in to show you guys what perspective you should be looking at. It's time to unwind, so let the hair down, and let's just have a walk around. Let's check it out. It's a lot of work put into this bumper. I probably spent about, I don't know, with disassembly, like 5 hours with the wrap and everything. Okay, so now we're looking down at it, looking directly at whatever seams you could possibly see. I actually have you lower. My point of view at 6'2" is roughly right here. And let's go down to 5'2". So that would be like even probably lower than 5'2". And that's what you're gonna see. So the seams, they turn out really nice. And there's that dirty stone chip from before. Sucks, but it's there. You know what? If I knew that was going to stick out so much, I probably would have done something about it. I might have just shaved it off with my knife or a blade or something. I didn't realize that would stick out so much like that, but hey, whatever. Too late now. I'm not rewrapping the bumper for that. But yeah, you can see what the seams look like, from normal standing distance. If you really want to get into it and look at it real close, this is super close. I have you a foot away, about 12 inches away right now. There's a seam in there. There's a seam in here. There's the seam in the top right there, inlay. There's a seam right down there. You can barely see that one. And then there's that one that runs along the bottom right there. Same on the other side. Sensors and the washer jet covers wrapped on their own makes the bumper look totally fresh, totally new. It looks awesome. The whole car looks awesome. I'll show you what this looks like. I'm trying to skim over my license plate. It's on right now. Let's go check out the bumper here. Put some of the badging on. I just put that on. And scope that out right there. There we go. Everything looks super clean. It's really nice. This is probably one of my favorite colors, to be honest. And those turned out really crisp, really clean. You can see them. Really, really into it. It's really nice with the gloss black contrast. I did end up doing gloss black PPF on the roof itself. So that's all done in paint protection film, gloss black. And yeah, I mean, that's what we're looking at. The metallic finish is really, really nice. Like to me, it almost looks like it's kind of chrome, like a satin chrome or a matte chrome, whatever you want to call it. But it looks really nice. I'm really into it. And I'm very satisfied with the end result, considering how much work it took to do the front bumper. The rest of the car wasn't so bad. The front bumper was the more challenging part of the entire wrap job, showing you where those inlays went. Still got to wipe it off a little bit of some smudges and stuff. Showing you where those inlays went, briefly how to do them, in the video. And, just mainly wrapping the film around the bumper. Super important to set up those inlays. Without doing those inlays, this bumper wrap wouldn't even be possible. You cannot wrap this in one piece. It's not possible. You can try, and it is possible, but it's not possible to make it last in one piece. Every time you stretch into high tension zones, like here, even up here, even down in here, and down in here, that poses a threat where the film could actually bubble out, and it might not last so long. It might last a day or two. It might last a month or two. But inevitably, when you overstretch the film into recessed areas, especially when there's no surface area, in tight areas like this, there's not much surface area there to hold the film down, then you're going to run into the problem of the film bubbling out or lifting out. And that's going to obviously make the wrap look terrible. We use the seams and we use the inlays to utilize the inlays and the seams to ensure that we're not going to have failure down the road. It's much better to have the seams than it is to have vinyl that's bubbling or lifting out of certain areas. Again, showing you how to wrap the film around the bumper itself, yeah, it takes efforts. It's doing it alone, it's going to take some effort. You have to put in the energy, the work in order to get it done and looking nicely. It also helps tremendously to remove stuff off of the vehicle. As you can see, everything is back on. All the grill pieces on the bottom, the middle, the side where the fog lights are, the sensors, the washer jet covers, the tow hook cover, everything is back on, the headlights. But I took that stuff off because it made it so much easier to wrap, because it would have been harder to wrap. And it would have taken probably more time actually to wrap it without taking all that stuff off. Anyways, guys, I don't want to ramble on. I hope the video was informative and helpful in showing you how to wrap the front bumper. I look forward to doing more videos for you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.